Ford has announced that they have got Skunk Works working on a new budget EV. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the next big thing. I have my doubts. We will talk about that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Joining me is my good friend Herbert from Brighter. Herbert, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, but I thought that I'm supposed to be joining my friend Brian White at my Tesla weekend. What is this? Futuraza? Am I in the right
You
place?
are in the right place. I have body snatched him. I am a pod person. We are the next big thing. We are the next version, the improvement, if you will, the 2.0. It's the same
2.0.
channel. It's the same channel. It's the same content. I'm just going to be able to get better experts to speak to, more insights. I've already been covering all kinds of other stuff, and my biggest videos of last year, only 2 or 3 of them were about Tesla cars. The rest were
Yeah.
about factories and bots and other companies, uh, and not always other companies in a positive light, I would add. So it's fine. But now let's talk about another company. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Ford. Ford is saying, hey, look, we've got a Skunk Works. We're working on the next big thing. Is that good news, no news, or bad news?
Oh, I guess I can have different opinions on this and on how I interpret this. So first of all, I think it's good news, right? Here's Ford CEO Jim Farley, well regarded. I think most people will say. I just interviewed Sandy Monroe, and he said, he really, really respects Ford. It's all about the leadership, right? And how willing the leadership is able to force, break up this legacy thinking. And you need to have that. And so for him to say, hey, I've created this Skunks Work team to build something separate from the big, behemoth company, that alone is somebody that says, okay, I know what's going on, right? It's a tough year. I need to do it. It's a small team. Let them see what they can do. So even that's the cool thing. The second thing though is why did they decide to do a compact car? Because they already have their Ford F-150. These are the big cars. The more expensive the car that you come up with, the more able you are to have a chance to bring the margin down, and you don't need to sell as much to be able to get to profitability. And Ford is already selling these trucks. Now, is it because they know that once Tesla has a competitor on the truck coming, a Cybertruck is now out there, and then Tesla will have a compact car, these guys will do this. So let's talk about that. Why compact car? And then secondly, hey, listen, we've heard this story over and over again. You've done shows on it. I actually have not, but you know how you'll take these news announcements, breaking news announcement from 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, and they're like, Toyota is gonna, create a Toyota killer, and then by 2024, and no, it's now 26, and now it's 28, and they never come. Right. So this could be just another one of those things where they watch out, Ford's going to do this, but it doesn't show up.
I would agree with that entirely. One of my regulars, who is this is his name, said, wait, wasn't the Mach-E also a Skunk Works program? I remember Jim Farley saying that. And I said, well, I don't remember seeing that, but as you know, I know one of the engineers who worked on the project. And I can assure you from our conversations, there was no Skunk Works. It was just a normal project. That might be one of those things where you go back and change history a little bit to make it sound cooler than it
Hmm.
actually was. My question is, why would Ford do a compact at all? Maybe it's
Mm.
because they're concerned that they're going to lose ground in the international market. Ford and others are really trying to game the system in North America to prolong the production of their most profitable vehicles, the internal combustion, the hybrids, so that they can buy their time. And I've seen a lot of skeptics saying, well, their EVs are dead. If you think that's true in the US, maybe whoever you think will take office in the future is going to rescind all these EV requirements or subsidies or benefits or whatever. That's great, but the US is only one country, and in Europe and in China and around the world, around the developed world, EVs are inevitable. The clock is ticking. So maybe the compact is Ford's way of surviving in markets that they would already be shut out of. They don't have a serious electric vehicle. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one thing I learned by talking to, and I interviewed a few people who are experts in the auto industry, right? Like Nicholas Colas. Pierre Ferragu and others. And what they were saying was that in order for you to be truly competitive in the auto industry, you have to be global. Okay. So that's why there's a concern that the Chinese automakers today, they're doing incredibly well, and they're doing incredibly well in China, and they're now doing beachheads in Europe, but they don't have a presence in the US yet. But they need to go global to be a true competitor. And the reason why you need to go global is because you have to sell your cars in volume to be able to have shared parts to have lower cost of goods. And that's possibly why Ford is trying to, they need to do something. They're losing ground completely. They're almost off the map in China, and what they need to do is offer a car, some kind of car that can then go higher volume, and then be able to then share parts with their other EVs, therefore reduce the price for everything. Like how do you gain cost of goods and increase margins? You know that they're famously losing $33,000 for every F-150 Lightning that they sell. And so that doesn't make sense for them. How do you get past that? One option is you build more, at least 200,000 F-150s per year. And then the other one is to introduce a new segment. And the key thing is they need to have shared parts. The issue is that when they actually do launch this, what the market is completely different by then. You've got Tesla already ahead of the game, producing a competitor. So you need to not only launch your version, you need to launch one that's competing in price and in quality and all these things against. Now Tesla is also there, and then you need to sell it in volume. And then so by the time they sell it, it still will take 2 years later for them to actually then, to start selling it in real volume. So it's going to be much, much longer than people realize.
I would say with the Skunk Works philosophy, the suggestion is that they could be closer to production than we realize, that it's not 2 or 3 years away, but 1 or 2, and certainly not 5. Uh, my big question for them would be, where are you going to get the batteries? If you're going to produce a high volume, because we talked about this
Mm-hmm.
last week and I'm still getting people arguing with me on X about it. They should have done the compact before the Cybertruck. It could already be ramped to 1 million. And I say, there's
Yes.
not enough battery. No, Elon said there is enough batteries. Right, for
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing now, not if you're
Mm-hmm.
talking an extra million or two cars. So I guess it's quiz time for you, Herbert. How
All
many
right.
cars did Tesla sell in Q4?
Just Q4. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
wait. So they just hit 1.8 million cars, 400, I don't remember, 430 or something?
494, something like that.
494. Okay. Yeah.
High, almost 5. How many
Okay.
EVs?
Yeah.
Because Ford graciously splits out their E division in their earnings reports, which just came out a day or two ago. How many electric units did they sell in Q4?
20,000.
34.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
34,000. Do you know how far behind that puts them? Now, they've got in their financials, they do show how that division is doing. Tesla's margin is what, 15, 20%?
17,
17.
16, depends
So
on
it's
how you
right in
define
there.
it. Yeah.
And Ford's is
Yeah.
negative
Yes.
98.
Yeah.
Negative 98. So that $50,000
On the
Mach-E,
EVs. On the EVs.
just on
Yeah.
the EVs.
Yep.
And so that $50,000 Mach-E cost them 98, 99,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, but that includes all the R&D and all the ramping and all. Right. So does Tesla's. Tesla's number also includes all that. And what we were told for the longest time is that all these core competencies that the legacy manufacturers would
Right.
have that they've developed over 130 years is that 20 years is that that's going to save them. That's going to make it so that they don't have this huge hurdle to overcome. And that doesn't appear to be playing out quite the same way. These huge negative numbers, what do you make of it?
I mean, the key number I think you need to look at is free cash flow, and they're like, yeah, it's so much less than what Tesla's able to do. So it's like that's the whole point, right? It's like, have you ever can you name any one company that is selling, some legacy technology, a new tech comes, and are they able to make that transition? Because they're making so much profit on one, they need to invest on the new platform, which they know is the future. But how do they do that when they keep losing money on the one that they can building while they're making so much money the other? And then, it's going to be, you're going to get less in this and more of that. And that's why they retracted, right? They said, okay, we're going to delay this. We're going to move to hybrids. That's what they're going to push. So how do they do this? I've never seen a company successfully do this. You have Kodak that invented digital. They were the ones who invented it, and they still couldn't get to digital cameras. You've got Blockbuster, who actually created an online platform for sending out DVDs, and they were very, very successful. You know what did them in was their debt of owning all these retail stores, and then they couldn't get out of that debt as they were trying to move to this new model. And so it's like, what's going to happen? How do these guys do that transition, right? That's the big question.
The only company that comes to mind that is a legacy company that managed to survive into the new world is IBM. They've been able to
Mm.
push forward with um, the old things, the chip design, the software, the all of that into the world of AI, and they were real pioneers of it with things like Watson. But that's an exception.
Yeah, the key point that I heard recently was, somebody would say, "Oh my God, how's Tesla going to compete? Do you not know that Toyota has 130 factories already in the world? When they want to, they can just turn it on and build these electric vehicles. All an electric vehicle is just an iPad attached to the car. You remove the parts and so forth." But actually, the stats is coming in that in order to either build greenfield, a new factory, or take an existing factory and retrofit it, it costs the same.
Hmm.
So that's the thing where people assume you can just take an existing factory that an OEM car has and then just change it to now just be it's a new kind of car, it's a new trim, whatever, it's an electric vehicle. And that's not the case. It's a completely retrofit the entire factory to be able to do this. It costs the same as just building a new factory. So that's why there is no advantage.
And when these people are saying 130 factories, and they're saying it, they want me to hear them say 130 assets, but what you and I hear is 130 liabilities. That's going to crush them.
You know,
And
the
yeah, I
yeah,
think
the
it was,
other thing that I heard yesterday from Sat, which is a very, very, very good comment he made, was that Toyota, as an example, and Ford and others, they have all these tier one, tier two, and tier three suppliers already. And it's not hard, it's not easy for them to get rid of those suppliers who they've had relationships for so long and then just start from a whole new, yeah, I don't need those parts anymore, right? So Toyota themselves may never be able to get there. That's what he thinks, whereas others think that Toyota's the competitor to watch.
I would agree with the sentiment. What Toyota has done historically is uh, ownership stakes in their partners, where the partners and Toyota own
Right.
little bits of each other, so that way we're married.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We're in this together. And by the way, you make what, carburetors? Oh, for crying out loud, what am I going to do with that? So not all marriages were meant to last, I guess. And the other thing I would say about the Ford Skunk Works project is that it's great to have these big projects, but it doesn't matter if they end up not being fruitful. When I was at Fully Charged in Vancouver, Ford was there with their new Mach E. And it was just a Ford. I don't know if it was the local dealership or who it was. And I said, "This is the 24 Mach E." "Yes, it is." I said, "Awesome. What's changed?" And he said, "Nothing. It's the same car. It's just a 24." It's like, "Oh my God. Okay. Okay." So not only are you not doing following Tesla's lead and iterating constantly, you're not even doing model year changes anymore. Okay, great, great. So I'm hopeful for Ford. I am cautiously optimistic that the legacy guys will get it figured out. But based on their track record, based on the last 10 years of empty promises, my confidence is quite limited. So in the comments, what I would ask is, what do you guys think? Is this actually going to happen? Will it get to market in a time frame that's still relevant? Will they actually be able to produce a 25, even $30,000 compact EV that's any good at all before BYD and all the others get their factories built in Mexico so they can import them into the rest of the North American markets? Are we crazy? What are we doing here? Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Check me out on Futuraza across all platforms, on X, on YouTube, on Patreon, anywhere you like. And when you get a chance, maybe check out my good friend Herbert over there. He does some good work over at Brighter with Herbert. For everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots on the Flippity Flap.